to Grey and Patina. This is a year in recap of kind of all the fun stories we've had and collected over the year. It's been a weird one, to say the least. But that's not to say that we stopped hunting, we stopped looking for watches. So, you know, for those of you that don't know these two, they've been sporadically popping into the videos. I think you guys have mostly seen me, but we have Paul here, which is our art director, videographer, talented DJ. I can go on and on. And then Maynard is my business partner here. You guys, if you guys try to sell something to us or trade something to us, you're probably talking to this guy. So hopefully he's been nice to you. Say hi, guys.
Hey.
So as a recap for the year, I kind of wanted to talk about the watches that were the most memorable this year in terms of a hunt. Anything stand out for you guys?
I'll let Paul go first.
Wow.
It was cool to see a Comex for the first time in person.
Yeah, that just came in recently, right? And one that just auctioned for a crazy price. There was a military sub that went for something in the neighborhood 500,000.
Yeah, 526 or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, these were always near unobtainable watches, whether you had the funds or not, just simply because trying to find these watches took a lot of effort, right? And they were never, in a sense, common, like let's say a 5513 or 1675 in good condition. These were made in such limited quantities that collectors early on hoarded them, and you had to kind of know someone or tap someone on the shoulder to try to find where these appeared.
Yeah, a couple watches that come into my mind are the ones that are like really untouched, straight from like original owner, unpolished, even if they have nicks and bruises on them.
Yeah,
I love seeing those come in. We started the year off with like a great Kermit and a great root beer.
You're not talking about new old stock. You're talking about just single owner, unpolished.
Unpolished. But even kind of just as it is, like it came in as it is.
Right.
I love those watches, and we have one right now, and just being able to look at like how it is, totally untouched, not new on stock, but like just kind of coming in as it is. Those are the watches that really excite me still.
And I think the way in which they came about, when we've been locked down here in Southern California, so we don't have the luxury to go out and travel, see the watches in person. But we did find those in Japan, correct?
Yep.
So for me, it's very hard to pick one specific one, but there's three that really stand out to me, and they all happen to be tropical. 1665 double red sea dweller tropical, 1680 red sub tropical, and that 1675 gilt chapter ring tropical, the super brownie. I think those three have been, and they came in rather quick succession. They dropped one after the other, and I don't know if it's because people saw that we were buying and selling these types of tropical watches, but I'm so glad to have had those under our belt and in our hands this year.
You didn't even mention the 5402 or the tulip dial
tropical
ones, so
actually
it's kind of interesting.
All the tropical. If I had to pick one watch, it's all the tropical watches that we got in there.
Okay.
I think those were always pinnacle watches for any dealer or any collector, is to just try to find someone that even has one is a rarity in itself. But to be able to procure stock and photograph, document some of these finds is unreal.
I think the fun part about it is for the tropical watches we do pick up, you and Paul are really picky about those. Like when you guys see them, you guys are like, that looks great. And so being able to kind of curate those and bring those in, and if we do pick them up, we're really looking out to try to pick up the best ones.
I think that's, whether it's tropical or a 5-digit, 16800, they all have to have some type of X factor for us to kind of bring into our inventory. And a lot of that has to do with condition and color and appearance. But I think we take that maxim and apply it to our inventory.
I do want to mention that the other one that I really liked that we picked up was that Date Just in Hawaii.
Oh,
It was really nice.
yeah, that
like
went
that one.
so fast, right?
Yeah.
We only lost about $3,000 trying to get it, but that's a different story. So you brought up an interesting topic. We started doing these interviews this year. It started off with Around the Watch, and our first interview was with Matt Andrews, who's a local Porsche enthusiast and a longtime friend of ours. But he kind of went through what watches he liked to collect and the reasons why he liked to collect them, but also bring in a different element of a completely different hobby, which are vintage Porsche cars, and finding the similarities, finding the overlapping between collecting vintage watches and collecting vintage Porsches seems like a much closer sibling than maybe perhaps collecting an Omega, a modern Omega versus a vintage Rolex, or modern versus vintage in general.
Yeah, what I really loved about kind of just opening up our media and bringing videos to everybody was, I think it was an opportunity for us to connect to the rest of the world in a year where everything was felt so disconnected.
Yeah.
And even being able to connect with close friends and just kind of sharing our conversations with them and sharing them with everyone else. And it opened up a lot of opportunities for me to connect with other people, whether it's like through a guitar collection, car collection, or how to brew the perfect cup of coffee. Just opening that up and putting it out in the world, really, that's what I really love.
I think Paul and I connected on this earlier, was that what was interesting was if all we had to talk about was watches, whether it was vintage, modern, etc., I think it gets very repetitive. I love the fact that the people that we're talking to are bringing something else interesting to the table. It's not meant to be a show and tell, although there are very glitzy, glamorous watches that are rare in their own right. I don't think that's the meat of the story. And I think ultimately what I want to hear and what I want to see is just talk to people about what got them into collecting and what other activities and hobbies, jobs, etc. that they're into. Getting to know a person beyond what that watch is really the first segment of our video series Around the Watch, because it's everything almost around the periphery of a watch. So we started with that, and then we got into we interviewed Heyman, which is co-founder of OC Chrono here locally, as well as the Chrono Group. Talked to Chris Gary, who has an amazing collection of watches as well. And then we kind of shifted gears a little bit. We did something that I don't think a lot of people thought we would do, and that was talk to our quote-unquote competition, right? I think that word gets thrown around loosely, and I don't think it's a very accurate way of describing the other dealers that kind of do the same thing that we do, right? Our first interview was with Tim Bender, right? I don't know. The way I feel about Tim, Yatsik, and the rest of the dealers that we've interviewed, I don't ever really think it's competition, because the product in what we deal with is so varied and so unique, right? We may have two 5513s from the same year, similar patina, but it couldn't be more different, and they couldn't be more perfect for different types of people.
Yeah. We have two 1985 16800s, and they're totally different. And you describe it the best way is you can't assign a SKU on any of these products. Every single one is unique. I dare you to find another 16800, 16808 just like that one.
Yep.
There's not another one out in the market for that. And so to say that we have competition, I hate to consider it as like a famine type of mentality or famine type of marketplace, but there's not really anyone selling something like that 16808.
Right. And we, as a small community of dealers, we often rely on each other's expertises, connections, etc. If I can't find a certain insert for a watch, I'm relying on them, vice versa. this is, I think, an interesting question. Someone that came from outside of our industry, Paul, like, what has been your take on, doing this type of art directing for watches versus something like, a Harley Davidson?
Well, it's still attention to detail. If anything, this is even more honed in. And I think I've enjoyed the most is just learning the history and the purpose for a lot of these, I would say, little machines.
Right.
And meeting the people that are around them, because I kind of look at them as purveyors, especially in the vintage world.
Sure.
To protect these things and to really carry on the lineage.
I think there's everything that a concourse collector would look at in a car in terms of like VINs matching original paint, that kind of ethos of making sure that the same VINs are in on the motorcycle, kind of carries over, but in a maybe more macro world.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, with motorcycles, like you want matching paint on the tanks.
Yep.
You want to make sure all the tins match, the motor matches the chassis. With the watch, it's the same thing: hands, dials, inserts, bracelets.
Yeah.
These are all things that are very unique.
Favorite trip? I think we all have the same answer. Visiting our boy David out in Hawaii. Of course, we were not interested in anything about watches going there. But yeah, we went out and hunted for a 1601.
It was fun. It's all about the hunt, right?
Yeah, I don't think we can say much more than that.
I will say it was really cool to see David's dad's watch collection, though.
Yeah, that was
talking about
cool.
vintage stuff, like that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that guy's OG. I can see where David gets a lot of his characteristics from. But we'll have to go back and search for another 1601 and maybe spend a few more $1,000 looking for a $2,000 watch. Outside of that, is there anything that you guys want to wrap up the year with? I think we have some surprises for our audience coming in next year. A lot of ambitious projects that we're going to take on. But anything that you want to kind of leave behind as we're wrapping up 2020, which couldn't be happier to be over with?
Well, in spite of the climate of things, I feel like we just got to continue moving on, continue learning, continue sharing, and that's what I want to do with our audience, is just share more of the stuff that we've been getting into.
Sure.
I do want to mention that it's been a pleasure to really be able to work with you and Paul, especially this year. Just to be able to have something that I'm proud of, right? Like to be proud to come into work every day and get these things done with you guys, and it makes me proud because I know you guys have my back in everything, and that's you don't really have that very often, especially in this really crazy shitty year where there's all this crazy stuff going on. To know that I have you guys to have my back, and to be confident that you guys know that I have your back also. Yeah, I'm really grateful for that.
I sincerely appreciate that, and I think both Paul and I feel the same way. To add on and echo what you said, in addition to us, dude, there's so many supporters. I know we're not as big as the rest of the big dealers out there, and there's certainly big box dealers out there as well. We definitely take pride in what we do and what we source, and the ethics in reselling used watches. But I definitely want to thank our supporters, our new followers, our existing followers, a lot of the dealers that we work with. Really, this is not trying to sound cliche, but this is not something that any one person can do themselves. To have a support network of people that encourage us every day and day out, especially sometimes, I'll come in here with Paul and there's stuff to shoot, there's stuff to film, and it's like the boring stuff, like shooting lug pictures or shooting case back pictures, and it's like, oh man, I've got 30 emails to get to, I've got to take care of this and that. But it's the guy that's like, hey, I just saw that video, got me thinking differently about Seamasters, really like what you guys are doing. That means a lot. And I know it sounds cliche, but it's like the little little bits of fuel that get us moving, get us grinding, trying to make content. Thank you guys. It's been a weird year, and hopefully everyone is going to experience a much better year next year, and we hope to get back on the road and shooting more content, finding more watches, and just talking to more of you guys. So with that being said, enjoy the rest of the eye candy that Paul's curated. We'll talk to you soon. See you guys.